Hello guys, it's raining right here in Kano, but yet I still feel it is the best time for me to make this 2D animation tutorial. I don't know, maybe because I love this weather a lot. You're gonna hear a lot of noise in the background. Please, you just have to, ignore it. Okay guys, there are 12 principles of animation. Regardless of which animation it is, be it 2D, be it 3D, there are 12 principles. The first one is squash and stretch, which is what we are going to talk about today. So subsequent tutorial, I'm gonna pick one of those principles and I'm going to discuss it with you. So the first principle we are going to talk about is stretch and squash. And this video you are looking right here, this is a 2D animation of a bouncing ball. This is a bouncing ball. This one is with physics. You can see there is kind of a dust, and this one is without physics. This is what we're gonna be explaining in a jiffy. You can see this is with what? Physics. The other one is without physics. So now look at this ball right here. This is what you're seeing. You can see that we have a circular ball, and the moment the ball is about to touch the ground, what happens? It changes shape. Why? Because this is an illusion for the viewers to know that actually this ball has or is bouncing. So the moment the ball stretches before it touches the ground, right before it touches the ground, this is stretch, and then the moment it touches the ground, we have squash. Here we have squash, and before the ball moves again, before the ball rises again, it stretches out and then it moves. So this is what we call stretch and squash. You can see that is the illusion of a bouncing ball. When a ball bounces, it stretches before it touches the ground, and while it is on the ground, it's it smashes, like it's spread out, and when it's about to leave the ground again, it stretches again and go back to its original shape. This is the first principle of animation, and this is what we're gonna be talking about in this particular tutorial. So guys, remember I told you that 2D is kind of integrated with 3D. Whatever we learn in 2D, we might not have to learn it in 3D because they have a lot in common, too many things in common. So this is why I'm taking you these two courses concurrently. So please bear with me. Don't think it is too much. It is for your own good. Before you know it, you're gonna get used to it. So let's get started. A new layer here and name it guide. Then start sketching right here. The sketches you're seeing is just for a guide. You choose the line tool to draw a straight line by the help of pressing shift. If you press shift, you're gonna be able to draw a straight line. So this sketch right here is just like a guide for our ball to follow. So that is what I'm drawing right now. So it is just a guide. So I'm going to lock it by pressing the lock icon, and then I'm gonna click on lines. So on lines, this is where we start drawing our ball with a pen. So there are various shape of pen, or should I call it various type of pen. And this is ink, this is ink rough, this is you can just test everything to see which one suits your purpose. So I'm just trying to show you all the kind of brushes that we have in Blender 2D. So I'm gonna go with the first one, this ink. At frame 1 you see a keyframe, you see this diamond shape, that is a keyframe, and it has been added. There is what we call onion skinning. The onion skinning is this green something you are seeing. You can If you come here, you can increase the opacity of that. So is the onion skinning is what will show you the previous position of your object. You can see that we have an highlight of where we're coming from. So that is what onion skinning does. And if you look at your properties panel, you can increase the opacity, that is the brightness of your object. So right here, just before the ball touches the ground, I'm gonna stretch it out. This thing is a bit logical. You might not be able to get it the first time you do it, but by the time you do it 2-3 times, I think you get it right. So if I place this through now, you see what's going on. Okay, I think I'll delete some frames. The last two, I bring it back to the place where I deleted some frames. So I'll continue, and then when the ball is trying to continue from rising up after bouncing, then it stretches again. You can see where our last object was. So I'm going to copy frame 1, that is from the timeline. I'm going to copy the diamond destined to the new frame. So I'm just gonna grab it so that I have a regular shape. If I try to draw a new shape, I might not have the exact same shape. So let's save our object and name it bouncing ball. So I'll continue to move 2 frames forward. There are ways in which you can draw your animation. If you do it frame by frame, which is frame 1, 2, 3, 4, we call it on ones. That's what we call it. And if you do it, every 2 frames, we call it on twos. So preferably, I'll advise you to draw on twos, because it cuts your work in half. If you have to animate in a 300 frames, you don't have to draw in those 300 frames. You have to draw just in 150. So practically your work has been cut in half. So I'm going to go to this frame that I have this stretch again in the new frame here, and then I'm going to just drag Shift D and then duplicate that keyframe, and then I'll come here and then I'll press G to grab it and put it here. So this, we have a new object at that frame. So I'll do this to the squash as well, and then to the second stretch when the ball is about to lift up again. So if I don't do it that way, I want to have a regular shape like in the previous one. When the ball stretches, I want it to be the same size with it when it stretches again. The second time it tries to bounce, and then the same thing for squash and the rest. So if you duplicate a keyframe from one frame to another and you don't change the particular position of that object, that means if you play your animation, you are going to have the object remain at that frame for the frame you are copying it from and the new frame you are copying it to. I hope you understand that. So I'll just change the end frame to 100 and play this through now. So look at what we have here. This is our ball bouncing. So if I turn off the guide now, you can see the ball bouncing properly. So now I'll start, adding, I'll choose the previous pen, that is ink pen, and then I'll align this properly. I'll look at the tool that I'm using in the tool shelf. So I'll go to edit mode and select this. I'll go to edit mode and then I'll press Shift D, and then I'll press rotation RZ, then 180 degree. Then I'll position this one right here. So I'll copy these two and then go to the next frame. I'll just press Ctrl C actually, and then go to the next frame and press Ctrl V to paste it in this frame, in this particular frame, and then I'll rotate it a bit, like to give the illusion of how the ball is rotating while it's falling. So another thing you can do is, uh, I first drill the ball. After drawing the ball, then I'm adding this, this demarcation. So what you can do is, drawing the entire ball, including this demarcation at the first time, and then all these strokes, we call this, all this line that you are seeing, we call them strokes. You can copy it from frame one to the next frame, and then another frame, and then another frame. And when you get to where you are supposed to squash the ball or stretch the ball, you stretch the ball appropriately, and then you move on. You do the same thing at squash, and then when the ball stretches again, you do the same thing, and so on. This process that I'm doing, I finished doing it before I realized that it is a longer process than the one that I just explained. But if you don't understand what I just explained, you can just go along with what I'm doing right now. So the scope is just to copy, and then remember, you have to be in edit mode before you are able to copy, and then you use Ctrl C to copy, and then don't paste from where you copy, from the frame you copy. Move to the frame you want to copy it to, and then Ctrl V to paste it, and then you align it properly to suit the exact location, and then use your reference, I mean the previous keyframe, because you are going to see, you're gonna see what you did previously. Use that as a reference to know where the rotation of the demarcation of the ball is going to face. So this is what I'm doing right now. So if I so after doing that, I've done it to the entire ball. I'm gonna choose fill, a nail color, and then start filling my ball. I think I've taught you how to fill now. So it's as easy as pam 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 pam. If you click in a space, it's going to fill everything just as you're seeing. Just click in between the strokes, and then it's gonna fill your ball for you. You know how to add a new material, and then you know how to create a new layer. I think this is a new layer. I call this layer a fill layer. It's different from the line layer where I used, or the layer in which I have my strokes. This is the layer in which I have my what is it called, my fill. So I just click in between to fill my object. So if you want this animation to play even faster, you can just be in frame one, to object mode, go to object mode, come to timeline, and then in frame one, make sure your cursor is in frame one. Then you can then scale it. So if you scale it, the animation is going to play even faster than what it is. So I'm going to create this another last frame, which we will no longer see the ball. So this is it. If I play this through now, you can see our ball is bouncing. So if you see any stain, you can easily, go to eraser and then erase it. This is what I'm doing right now. I have a dot, and I decided to clean everything. So I'm just going to name this ball because I want to create a physics like a dust. So I'll call this dust, so that when the ball bounces, you see the illusion. So I'll create a layer. I don't need to give it a name. I'll create a material. The reason why I don't give them name is because they'll be the only one, like the only material and the only layer. So I'm trying to choose a color for the dust. So for the material of the dust, I check stroke and fill. And what you can do here, you can give both the same color so that nobody will ever notice that you can see the result here. If you click if you give the two the same color. So I'm going to delete that. I think I'll delete this keyframe, because whatever you draw, you get the keyframe immediately. It is automatic in grease pencil. So here, just when the ball is leaving the ground, I'm going to draw a shape of like maybe. So let me quickly add a new layer. I'll call it guide. And then I'll add a new material. This material I want to use it to draw the guide. So I'll draw a very simple dust, very small size, and then go to the next frame. I'll make sure onion skinning is turned on, and then in the render type, right now I can't see the onion skinning because I am not, the reason I'm not seeing the onion skinning is because I'm still in rendered mode, and by the time I was making this tutorial I didn't notice the reason why. I didn't know the reason why. So eventually I remember, and then I made the correction. So I'm gonna hide the ball itself, and then I'm gonna draw the dust like so. I'll randomize it in another frame, frame by frame, and then I'll go to another frame. Then in the edit mode, I'll grab it and then move it forward a bit because the dust starts from the ground and move upward. So I've gone back to the previous frame to reduce the size of the dust, and then back to the current frame, then increase the size again because it comes from small to big before it disappears into the air. So this is what I'm doing right now with sculpt mode, and you choose push or pull, whichever one you like. You can use scale. So until I'm satisfied before I start painting. So I'll choose this material right here, and then I'll make sure I'm on that layer. Then I'll just start drawing. Tracing the guide. So this one right here is overlapping with the ball, so I'm not gonna even draw it that way. So I'll draw the rest of the dust frame by frame. Until I'm done with the final frame, which there is nothing on it. So to install or to insert a keyframe where there is no dust, you just have to go to that frame and then first draw something, and you can delete it, so the keyframe will be inserted and nothing will show. So for the second time the ball bounces, instead of having to draw from scrap again, I'm just gonna cheat this. So what I will do is I'll duplicate this particular one in edit mode, in object mode rather. I'll just press Shift D to do that, and then come to this frame, and then I'll move this, grab all this keyframe and move it here, and then in object mode go to your 3D viewport, and then press G and X to move the dust to the exact location where it has to be, and use your sculpt mode to change the size and then to randomize the dust itself. So what I'm gonna do to this other dust right here is that it's going way far away from where it's supposed to be. So from edit mode, I'm just gonna make a little bit of adjustment frame by frame, using onion skinning as a guide. You see the previous and the next. The previous is green, the next is blue. If you can't see it properly, go to onion skinning in the properties panel and then increase the opacity. So this is about bouncing with physics. And that's all. That'll be the end of this tutorial. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next tutorial. Bye bye.